Look, if you don't want to make that change within yourself, it's not going to get better. This might not apply to everybody, but if you feel like you're rock bottom, okay, and you're hoping for a better day, but you literally are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that's a definition of insanity. You are provided with a choice every day. You are provided with multiple choices throughout the entire day. Take that choice, make that change. You've identified a problem. You're saying you're rock bottom. Got it. You're there now. There's only one way, and it's up. So change your mindset. Use that choice and go a freaking different direction. Love y'all. Faceman VTT out.
Day 3 of retirement. As an infantryman, I was asked if I could clean the sink. So let's look at this. Definitely some kind of grime on there. And I open up the cabinet. What do I use? Nothing comes to mind. Like my experience is my skill set. Nothing. Wait a minute. Everyone knows this is how you clean everything. Infantry, retired.
You can just take it.
Would you like a military discount?
Do you offer one?
Honestly, cap of the day.
Thank you.
CC's Pizza is the county fair of restaurants. You go in there, you look around, you feel a little bit better about yourself, then you realize that you're in there too. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, let's be honest. You know, not everybody's made for this life. It's scary. You know, you gotta jump out of a plane while it's moving. That's not natural. It's high, it's fucking wet outside sometimes. It's snowy, it's hot, it's dry, it's shitty. Who the fuck would want to be airborne? Best job I ever had.
Making fun of other real warriors. Try it. This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Welcome to episode 120 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is former Navy SEAL Colin. And as usual, I'm joined by Nick and Buddy. How y'all doing today?
What's up, suckers?
Sunday. We're doing this on a Sunday.
It is a Sunday special because the baker or Muffin Fingers, the fake Asian back there, had another one of those pool tournaments where he, I think it's like a transgender thing where you put on floaties and you float around in a pool. But I think that's what he was doing, so we couldn't do it yesterday.
Did he win?
I would date him. I think he would. Like when he dresses up like a girl, he's pretty good looking. Yeah. So,
Chris, did you win?
Like Chris, did you win? You can't hear Chris. I don't know. Maybe you can turn his
Only
mic.
we can hear him.
Did you win the transgender floaty tournament?
We lost one before the money.
There's
he lost before
God
the money.
speaking.
Okay,
God speaking.
That means you didn't even place. Like you didn't even get like
sixth place.
How many
Nice.
people?
Second place is technically.
They paid top 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but how many how many were playing.
21.
Six.
I was gonna say, like, yeah, we made four.
We got six. Whatever. How many played six?
14. Yeah, it was just 6 people.
Yeah, there were 4 teams, and I lost one before the money. You caught me.
Good job.
Man,
And
it's a great Sunday when you got the 10th Mountain Bourbon too. Oh,
second place is the first loser, Chris.
I have mine mixed in my Irish coffee.
Oh yeah, I got a bottle of cordial too, buddy. It's gonna be dangerous tonight.
I put a little bit of vodka in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I drank a little too much yesterday.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get this dumpster fire kick started. I actually researched this conspiracy 2 days ago, and I dove into it a little bit, just for Buddy's sake, because he always takes copious notes. And this one is actually extremely interesting. I sent Chris a picture of what this conspiracy is supposedly about, but I think there's a lot more to it, and we're going to dive into that. So have you guys heard of Lake Vostok in Antarctica? Obviously, you guys are aware of like multiple facilities. So. Yeah, multiple facilities in Antarctica, and this is actually a Russian facility. Okay, and they've been digging into the ice for over 30 years, to find like microorganisms and stuff like that. So
that's always a good idea.
Yeah, they located this lake 4,000 meters below the ice in 2012. Okay. So they thought they would find like microorganisms in this lake, and they were like, hey, we're going to go explore this lake. All right. This lake hadn't been discovered and hadn't been subjected to like everything else for about 20,000 years. Okay. So, are we going to find some living life forms down there? Who knows? So the initial crew that explored the lake consisted of 8 people, but only one of them returned. The information on this is kind of conflicting, okay, because you read some articles on this and it was 6 and 1 returned. More articles point to 8 people and 1 returning. So people died, okay? They basically faced this creature with 14 legs that was 33 feet long, all right? Apparently the creature had the ability to hypnotize the crew, even change its form, making it look like one of the divers, okay? It could release deadly venom and all other types of crazy stuff. So one of the divers actually chopped off this creature's leg, all right? The leg disappeared. 10 minutes later, it came back and strangled that diver and killed that diver, okay?
What did? The leg?
The leg.
The leg came back.
The leg came back. So they were fighting this creature, and they chopped off one of the legs, and the leg disappeared, came back, killed one of the divers.
That sounds like a dirty, nasty leg. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So this thing was just like,
you ain't airborne, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
You heard it here.
It was able to hypnotize them, hypnotize one of the divers, and then like swam up to it. The diver was just frozen, then it ate it. It was ripping people's heads off. It was able to make itself look like
falling off.
Yeah, it was making itself. It was making itself look like one of the divers, so it could shapeshift. All kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, so long story short, after multiple attempts, all right, they finally were able to capture the creature alive. Okay, which was then apparently hauled off to Russia and is apparently being weaponized by Russia right now. Okay, that's how the story goes. So the main doctor, which is, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce his name right, Anton Padalka. Okay,
Don't you speak like 12 languages?
Yeah, but not Russian. Okay,
You just die.
Well, then slow down. If you don't speak Russian, just slow down.
Yeah, he talk like
Padalka. All right. So he fled Russia. He fled Russia to Switzerland, okay, and released this whole thing to the news in 2016 because the Russians covered it all up. When they said divers were dying, they just said it was like an octopus or whatever. They just kind of let it go, right? So this guy flees to Switzerland. 2016, he releases all this information and can no longer be located, and nobody knows where this man is. All right. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm going to give you guys my take. I'm really crazy about Antarctica. And for you flat earthers that are watching, I'm not crazy like that, okay? I do believe that there's a lot of stuff going on in Antarctica. I've talked about the Antarctic Treaty, which Antarctica is really not owned by anybody. It's owned by multiple countries, okay? And there's always been stuff going on. We talked about Admiral Byrd.
It's like China in the early 1900s.
Yeah. We talked about Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump, 40 years ago. You know that one, huh?
I'm all over that subject.
Yeah. Aliens, all kinds of stuff. So
since the start of COVID, there's a lot to research, so I'm all over a lot of
You have the time to do it, right? So I do believe that they encountered something down there, okay? I think it definitely wasn't an octopus. Okay, they definitely encountered some crazy creature that then, they just told the public that it was an octopus. And I do feel like this creature maybe had some crazy abilities, all right? Because the doctor just like fleeing Russia and then releasing it to the news in Switzerland and then disappearing. The story's not made up, all right? It was actually in U.S. news as well, and they just talked about an octopus.
That makes it real.
All I'm saying, it was publicized. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was brought up. So I definitely think they found something. Maybe it was like an alien or something.
Aliens.
They encountered something down there, and I think it was like a creature. Obviously, the ocean is the most unexplored place on the planet, right?
Especially
so now we find
an unknown lake.
Right, 4,000 meters below the ice, right? So they encountered something. They just don't want to talk about it, okay? Was it sent back to Russia to weaponize it? Who knows? But it was definitely a monster down there. It was not an octopus. And they're just doing their research on it now, and eventually they'll release the files in a couple of years. That's my take.
And now the monster has government sending balloons over America, right?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you can cut off one of its arms and it just comes back after you, what is its power when it gets on land?
Right. But Putin definitely apparently has this monster, and they're using it. They're going to weaponize it and figure out its abilities and stuff. And it also talks a lot about the gas, the poisons that it can release that killed one of the divers. There's
my God.
It
How
literally
many
talks.
ways can this thing fucking? It's like the Swiss Army knife of fucking bad.
Well, so it can hypnotize. Okay, it can hypnotize. It can shapeshift. It has poisons, and then obviously its tentacles can like just rip your fucking head off, and it can eat you and all kinds of crazy shit. So, anyhow, that's my take. Colin, what happened in Lake Larsa?
I don't know. That probably happened. I'm open to the idea that it happened. I ran my first contract at Blackwater.
Here we go. This might be good.
Department of Energy guys, and they told me about the fish man that they used to have like in like a glass Conex box type thing. And like so I did that contract in 2004. So they told me about it. It was like that movie, with the girl.
Wait a minute. Did you say Fishman?
Fishman. They kept him in like this Conex box, like a glass Conex box, kind of like in Hellboy. So these two guys that were on the same DOE team, one was a Army dude. He might have been like 82nd or something. The other guy was
pretty legit guy.
Old school Navy. Yeah. I mean, everybody I worked with on that team was great. And
especially the 82nd guy.
Yeah. Actually, that's absolutely true.
Shut up, Nick. I want to hear about this fish man.
I just want everybody watching to know that 82nd is the best. Okay.
But like 4 years later, I worked with another guy that contracted as security for DOE, and I brought up the fish man, and he was like, "How'd you know about that?" And so that was like two different times. It was a third person that told me about this fish man. So I think this thing could be happening in Antarctica. There's a lot going on. All the mountains look like fucking pyramids, for God's sakes.
They do. They've discovered pyramids down there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Antarctica, there's the crazy thing about Antarctica. It was like on maps like thousands of years ago when we weren't even exploring the continents yet. But if you look at the real first map of the world, which I don't know how many years, long fucking time ago, Antarctica was on there. And like, who the fuck went to Antarctica at that day and age? We weren't like even traveling in boats yet. It's really weird shit. But
well, they just called Graham Hancock's thing on Netflix the most dangerous show on television, which is fucking stupid. Like, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's dangerous to rediscover our past. There is a big chunk of history missing, between certain time periods, and the Bosnian pyramid is carbon dated to at least 32,000 years ago. So there's just so much we're missing. So
well, Nick always brings up a good point. That
that's all I ever bring up.
Well, sometimes, but lost knowledge. Who says that ancient civilizations weren't fucking 10 times smarter than we are? And then they all died out or whatever, or they just reset maybe.
If they were so smart, why are they dead, Dave?
Yeah, good point, right?
I don't know.
A meteor hit them and they died.
Maybe a meteor, yeah. How did they not see that coming? Geniuses. Yeah.
Well, they call our junk DNA, right? Like, but there are theories that whoever these Anunnaki were, they could have like turned off part of our DNA to like
Planet X, man.
Sort of enslave us a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Dave currently has a conspiracy hard on.
I'm in heaven right now. He's talking about
literally
Anunnaki.
Did you guys just become best friends?
Yeah, we're gonna Colin and I are gonna do a show on our own, and we're gonna cover the Anunnaki.
They are just fluffing each other right now.
Oh my gosh.
Like
This could.
We gotta stay on track. But the Anunnaki, yes, I real quick, I believe in the ancient alien theory.
Since you brought this up,
I believe in the ancient alien theory that they came down here to mine gold, like the Anunnaki, and then they created us, like they, with monkeys and shit, and they created humans, and they enslaved us then to mine gold for them, and then build the pyramids.
Yeah.
We're cutting his dicks off.
That's a lot of pyramids on a lot of continents to build. They found 7 in Mauritius, right off the coast of Tanzania. That's where my girlfriend's family's from. And they've got them on every continent, Like they even have pyramids in Ohio. Maybe it's not Ohio. They have that snake thing in Ohio.
No, they just have really bad train tracks in Ohio.
The point, but back to the point with the Antarctica monster is our governments are now openly talking about UFOs in our skies, and they're like, we don't know where we're from. I'm like, bullshit. They know exactly where they're from.
100%.
Paul T. Hillier was a former Canadian Minister of Defense who talks about this subject, and I read his book called The Money Mafia, and it's a fascinating book, but he's a world leader who has been saying we're very aware that the Russians and the United States are working these things. So of course why not? Why wouldn't there be a 14-legged octopus monster?
100% is one.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah, Buddy's turn.
Monster. Do you think, real quick before Buddy goes, you think the Russians actually then did capture it and they're like testing it and shit and like all kinds of stuff to weaponize it, or is that a little too far fetched? I mean, a doctor disappearing, the main doctor that was in charge of everything, fled Russia to Switzerland, talked about it, and can no longer be found. I mean,
why did he go to Switzerland? Because it was like neutral, or because they have CERN?
Yeah. Isn't that where Snowden went?
Oh, that's another one. That's another one.
Thing in like the Stargate and CERN or whatever they have there.
We're speaking the same
language. There is a Stargate.
Yeah, for sure.
They found a Stargate. Oh yeah.
Anyhow, okay, Buddy, you're up.
Okay. Now I can't even scratch the surface of the conspiracy gasm that you guys got going on. Not a thing. Not going to be able to happen. But here's my issue. I've been diving before a couple times, and I did real quick math. If they were drilling for, you said 30 years, they've been digging.
30 years, yeah.
If they dug 2 feet a day for 30 years, they would have gotten down 21,000 feet, or 6,400.8 meters down.
Okay.
And then we put some divers. Just divers, no sub, no nothing. 6,000 meters down. And they are doing hand-to-hand combat in dive gear with a hypnotizing shape-shifting.
Lake Varsock is a real thing, buddy. Like, that's not, there's no conspiracy behind that.
He's not saying that. He's talking about he's doing the math on you, Dave.
I'm just doing the physics of diving, at altitude.
He wasn't an instructor at dive school.
Below altitude.
Right, but I think he's getting it wrong, because we're just talking about digging down and below the ice and then finding like another another area. Like, man, there were caves, but they didn't dive 4,000 meters down. They dug down and found caves in a fucking lake and shit.
Yeah, they weren't in dive gear,
in the water.
Right, no, they were not.
They dove in the water.
Then they did dive into the water, yes. Into the lake.
Yeah. But still, what would be below sea level?
4,000 feet below sea level, 4,000 meters below sea level, or how far below sea level? We got to figure this out.
I get what you're saying.
Unless they had some way to, I don't know if the fact that it was surrounded by ice keeps the pressure at a constant.
Yep, they talked about that too. I did not bring that portion up.
Still, it's a little dark, and then they get down there, and have you ever been in dive gear before? Because fighting shit in dive gear seems difficult, especially if you're worried about getting hypnotized and fucking and shapeshifted on the whole time you're fighting. Yeah. And then what did they cut the leg off with? Was it like one
of the article read
a samurai sword?
Is it their dive tool?
It was the last samurai sword, Nick, ever.
Yeah.
It was actually like The picture shows a machete.
Piano wire.
Yeah.
They had a machete dive.
It was a piano wire.
It was part of the packing list, buddy.
God. So you're telling me they dove 6,000 meters?
Jeremiah Campbell said bunch of narked out Russians. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It was probably like the Russian, KGB, like their special forces.
Who said that?
Well, right, so you see the movie Boondock Saints, you know when he grabs the Rambo knife and it's like, what are you gonna do with that, Rambo? It's like,
who said the comment? Because
Jeremiah Campbell said bunch of narked out Russians.
Fuck you, Jeremiah, for stealing my point.
Yeah, Jeremiah, you and Buddy just touched tips.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like 8 Russians probably drunk on vodka when they fucking got there.
Okay.
Because you gotta be drunk as fuck to go down a hole with a fucking machete to do some diving.
Absolutely.
Got down to the bottom of a hole, started swimming around.
Well, maybe it was a fucking spear. I don't know. What do you take anything when you're like
thing?
No,
Yeah,
is that not a thing? I don't know. Like,
no, you take a dive tool with a little knife.
Knife? Okay.
Yeah.
And he cut off one of his tentacles with a knife then.
Well, Dr. Stephen Greer has a new documentary out called UFO Endgame, which is pretty interesting. That whole community was upset when the Lou Elizondo with his little flavor saver, stupid goatee thing. He's like the ATIP guy, one of the guys that decided they needed to change the name UFO to UAP or some stupid crap like that. It's such a waste of time, but they thought about it. But like Greer and guys like Billy Carson, they're saying that we most likely have technology that's 300 years advanced to what the public has now. So maybe Russia has something that you can dive in at that depth.
Maybe,
I don't know.
maybe
there's clearly a lot.
Well,
I know a Navy SEAL. I know a Navy SEAL that is on those disclosure shows. Mike Jaco, he has channels and stuff, and he's an interesting guy. And he says he's been on Jupiter and Venus. So I don't know what to fucking believe anymore.
What? Hey, you know what?
All right, when is he coming on our show? We are connecting after this show. We want him on.
I just connected a couple things. Colin.
Did he just say Jupiter and Venus?
Yeah, I did. I don't know. I don't know.
Nick, you better get him on our show.
Look, all Spec Ops guys, they have like their a reputation. You know, people hear about reputation or something. If you're gonna go out there and lie, I mean, he's kind of putting his reputation on the line. Like, I know of him to be a good guy, and most guys I think are pretty honest.
So you're saying there's no bullshit. He's lying. He's not lying. He been on Jupiter in his head, and when he talks to you, like, it's fucking true.
No, I don't know. We don't talk, but I've seen. I worked in that Blackwater 20 years ago for a little bit, and then I heard some stuff that he's like this intuitive warrior guy. I've listened to him and stuff. He's a very rational person, very intelligent. Does his show out of Florida, but he says he's been there.
Big DeSantis energy.
I don't know. All I know is there are pyramids on Mars, but we're lying about that shit. Why aren't the rovers going all over? Why isn't the rover on top of the fucking pyramid on Mars right now with getting a panoramic shot?
No shit.
So much garbage.
More importantly, how are we skipping over the fact that you just said your buddy was on Jupiter and Mars?
Well, you're not.
Venus.
And you doesn't matter, and you never said anything.
Venus is a big ball of gas.
No,
you may have said on Jupiter and Mars, but I put in Uranus.
On Disclosed TV, or so, he was on one of those shows, and that's where I saw it. I didn't have a conversation with him. I was just watching the TV, and
also,
Colin, we will get connected after the show, and we need to bring him on.
Shut up, Dan.
This makes a lot of sense.
I just figured it out, Colin. Fish guys, the little fish fellas. Russia's got fish fellas. They sent the fish fellas down. That's who was fighting the 14-foot.
Right. It wasn't humans. It was fish.
Fish boys. It was the fish guys.
I love it.
Okay.
Bam.
So Buddy, you're actually Buddy's take is actually a bunch of bullshit. Never happened. Really, it was a fish man then.
No, I don't know the physics that would come with diving at 6,000 feet below some ice, especially considering the thickest ice.
You got to use the Pythagorean theorem.
Meters. But that being said, I don't know the pressures that would come at 6,000 feet below some ice. But I would say that if it was possible and you could, it's very unlikely that 8 divers. First of all, why would you send 8 divers to go check out a hole for the first time? Like I would.
Maybe there was 4 caves, and they went buddy teams.
Because when they got down to that lake, and I didn't bring it up when I was describing it, they walked.
See, you didn't give Buddy enough information.
They walked for a while.
Well, you act
just look up Lake Marstock.
You act like they just drilled into like a goddamn lake.
No,
you know what I
apparently
mean? Like,
they were down in this
they were
cave
drilling
and then
into a block of ice, and then all of a sudden, oh my God,
here's a lake. Yeah,
we have found fresh water. Yay!
I'll research it a little bit more for you, buddy.
I don't.
Yeah.
All right,
let me.
Buddy. We're good. What's next?
They say with these deep underground military bases, the DUMBs or whatever, they've got tons of human experiments. And if you think of predictive programming, like possibly Resident Evil could be some kind of predictive programming. It started a video game, but now it's pretty mainstream. But the first thing they fucking started bitching about was biolabs in the Ukraine, and everybody was like, "That's conspiracy theory." 3 days later, State Department's going, "Okay, we got like 46."
Yep.
So what are they cooking? China, CHYNA, might be what Trump's been saying the whole time. They keep saying China, but there's a biolab in China, Ukraine.
Everybody knows
That's interesting.
Everybody's been saying it.
So I don't know.
Huge.
You see, if they've got little hybrid humans running around or fucking chupacabras or something, why not?
Fishman.
Why couldn't there be a 14-leg thing in Antarctica?
So I've been paying attention to both you guys, and I listened to
20,000-year-old one.
I listened to Dave's story, and I want to say that this 100% happened, but it didn't happen at the time frame that it's getting released as. Okay. I'm thinking again. You go back to previous, civilizations, and the people who run this world is Disney and ESPN. All right, that's why they.
Wow, ESPN.
Well, they're the same company now. They're the same company now. Okay. So they run this world. So they obviously made Little Mermaid off of this story, right? And Little Mermaid was done in the 90s?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, and you got Ursula, who's got 17 tentacles. She hypnotizes people.
Oh.
Okay, she's got her little minions down there doing things.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right,
really have 17 tentacles.
Something like that. You gotta watch it again.
Dave, you gotta watch it again. Seriously, until you hit it with a Disney conspiracy, and
right.
Like, fucking tell me.
But that would be if she really does have 17 tentacles. That was a pretty damn good connection. Like
I'm telling you right now that movies control everything. They're the only source of truth that we have. And so I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna say that this happened thousands of years ago.
Oh shit. Okay. Thousands. So not in 2012.
No, it didn't. And I don't think anything's getting weaponized. And I'm going to go with Colin's point that, that there is things that we have that we know about, but it's not to a country. Like Russia's not weaponizing it, because when I was talking about the New World Order again, there's all the same people on the same page.
100%.
And so they know that this exists. And then I'm going to go with Buddy and say that, yes, there are fishmen. And those are the only guys that could have went, or girls, sorry, that could have went down there.
Non-binary.
Right? Non-binary fish people, okay? Fish thems, okay?
Fluid. So they're gender fluid.
Yeah, the fish thems went down there, okay? And but that'll
some reptiles you learn in Jurassic Park. All right, go ahead, sorry.
Right. No, you're good. So Rebecca Griggs says, I'm a buddy with this one. She's like, I'm going to need more info. Jeremiah says, this definitely deserves another full conversation. Oh, Jeremiah, this is coming. Right. We're going to get Colin's buddy on.
This is happening.
We're going to get the dude that's been to fucking Mars. I mean, Venus and
Uranus.
Yeah, Venus and everybody's been in Uranus, buddy. But
I don't have his number or anything, just so you guys know. But
you got buddies that know him, right? You guys can somehow get connected.
No,
I'm sure we can get him up.
I'll get him.
Stevie's interested. I know he's busy with his own podcast.
I'll get him.
We'll get him on, and we will let him talk for the entire hour, and we won't say a word.
All right, so I'll keep this book of real short, because we did run some time on that conspiracy. And
it was a good one, though.
It was a great one. It was great. I learned a lot. But those of you who are watching for the first time, welcome to watching the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, and just a little recap of why we're here and what we're doing. we reconnected, a bunch of us old friends, Buddy, Joe, Dave, and we just started BSing on Zoom, and it ended up becoming, now we have 120,000 followers on Facebook. We got 600,000 on Gruntworks. We got this whole community has grown, and we've learned so much in the last 2 years about the veteran community, about what certain great things are that people don't even know about, meeting veteran authors, meeting veteran business owners, and just trying to promote them. So you understand, all we want to do at Veteran Trash Talk is promote veterans. Like, we don't care if we make a dime. All right, we really don't. We just want to, if you're a veteran-owned business, like I said, author, whatever you're doing. We had a guy that sold goats, right?
He did sell goats.
We had a guy that sold goats on this show.
I want to put his plug out for him.
Yeah, Buyer Barn.
Buyer Barn. Check out Briar
Barn.
Briar Barn. Check out Briar Barn. Order yourself some goats.
Right? Hey, if you sell, the right kind of mushrooms, or whatever, you sell like pizzas or something in your backyard, fucking tell us. We'll promote you. All right, it's that simple.
Damn right.
That's all we want to do. But that being said, we've learned a lot and we've grown a lot through the last 2 years, getting other people's perspectives and actually listening to other people's stories. And, we've had people on the show that you could tell were like raging liberals, ones that were raging conservatives, and yada, yada, yada. And if you pay attention to the Book of Earl, right, which is pretty much gospel, right, and everything I say there's no flaws to it. But most of them are because I already created the flaw and I found out about it, so I start talking about it. All right.
Chapter what, Nick?
Well, obviously, chapter 1, verse 1 is quit being a triggered pansy.
Yeah.
All right. That's our signature phrase and
our signature shirt.
And our signature shirt. Getting slowly passed by a couple other ones. The waterboarding one's getting close. But again, you've heard me talk about it. The last time I did a Book of Earl, it's been a while, was the virtue signaling. All right, and how you're just trying to get attention to be relevant, and how and once you become important and you try to become, and you already are relevant, when you say shit, it has power behind it, right? And so if you're only saying it to be a jackass, or to think that you're right just because you some moral high ground, you're a very dangerous human being. All right, so what I'm going to talk about real quickly.
Thanks, Bob, for the stars.
Yeah,
sorry, Nick.
What I'm going to talk about,
Bob.
What I'm going to talk about real quickly, all right, is the school shooting that happened. Okay? Absolutely horrible thing.
Yeah.
But you know that more than 3 people died that day? It was 6, right? So is it 9 now total? It's 6 to 9 now? But
no, it was 6 total. So it was two 60-year-olds, a 61-year-old.
Yeah.
And 3 9-year-olds.
If you've watched this show long enough, you know that our hearts go out to them. Our hearts go out to anywhere where there's something bad happen. Right? Now, if you're a person, and I always bring up the bell curve, which you can't see on the podcast because you're just listening. All right, there's the bell curve. Okay, there's the left and the right. Okay, it doesn't mean political. It just means you're either on this spectrum or this spectrum of just fucking wackoness. All right? There are people on that left and right side that love the fact that happened. All right? They love that it happened. Why? So they can virtue single. All right? If you're one of those people that loves when these kids get killed and you're going to hide under this fake fucking thing that, it's because you care about these kids. No, you're fucking happy that those kids got shot. Because you get to say, I told you so. It was with a gun.
Yeah.
Right? Or on the other end, we need to arm our teachers. Okay?
Yeah. Same people that say that will probably watch that guy at Starbucks getting knifed.
Yeah. But let's not forget that the things that came out of this story was, you look at the one that happened in Uvalde, and you got people taking selfies, cops taking selfies of each other, smiling while these kids are getting fucking gunned down. And guess what? It was a Marine, right? The cop.
The cop that went in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a Marine.
I don't.
You can't say a former Marine, but
there were have you seen the?
Yeah, I've seen the footage.
I've seen the dash cam footage.
But you can tell the way that guy manipulates
Oh,
the
they
guy
were
that.
fucking-
Oh yeah, he had good trigger discipline for the
Dude,
most
he-
part.
He had a vortex fucking scope on
Dude,
that fucking. He was fucking. He knew what he was doing.
And he was like, when he was at the door before entering the school, he's like, "Give me 3," and it was like taking time. He's like, "Let's go, give me 3."
No,
Yeah.
what should have come out of that for other police forces
Yeah.
was what it looks like when you have a bunch of guys that are trained on SOPs and don't need to have a team that's trained all the time.
He controlled that whole situation all the way up to like taking out.
There were 2 teams that were cleaning,
I know.
and they both looked almost identical. They both
I only saw his footage where they got stuck in the first floor and then go up to the second floor, and
But you know,
So
that's
they
never
both did
that's
that.
never going to
Yeah.
get talked about
No.
because
It is
of
here.
the people. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. We don't.
No. I mean, it is here, and because I'm from 45, or I live 45.
I
minutes
texted
from
you
there.
that day, man. I was like,
Yeah,
"Your kid's
those
good,
guys
right?"
are those guys won't have to pay for lunch ever.
Yeah,
again.
and it's like
They fucking smoked it.
that's like, why do I have to explain that I feel bad for those people, those kids, those families? That should be normal.
Yeah.
Okay, that should be normal. That, of course, I already understand that that's a horrible thing that happened.
Right.
All right, and let's go back. You brought up COVID earlier, Colin, and it's like when COVID, Dave saw this on Facebook all the time. I posted to all those people who were the vaccine Nazis. I was like, show me a post from 2017 where you cared about children's lives during a bad flu year. I go, show me one post in 2017 where you gave a fuck about those kids' lives.
Yeah.
All right. You can't show me one. All right. Show me a post where you gave a fuck about old people dying until 2020. Right? Like, show me one. All right.
But we weren't told to care about it yet.
Right.
It's indoctrination by the media. Exactly what you just said, buddy. Yep.
Yeah.
It's indoctrination by what the media feeds
So
you.
your guys are sitting. I'm talking to those of you listening and watching. It's okay to be wrong about this. It's okay to be on that spec. It's okay to be over there, because I've been over there sometimes on issues, right? And I found out, like, man, shit, I'm an idiot. Like, I'm not listening to anybody else.
You'll still fight that you're right, though, just to terrorize.
I'm not listening. Well, that's different. That's sarcasm.
That's on Facebook, though,
right? Like, yeah, like I'm. If I'm not able to listen because of a bias, I've become worthless. Okay, I literally bring nothing to the table when I'm biased. All right, like, because the conversation just stops. It just ends. So that's the book of Earl. Stop being biased. All right, you can have. That's your right to have your opinion. But
Can I mention something to you about this? Though?
Yeah, one second. If you're virtual singling, okay, smart people will see that. Okay, people who actually are centric, they see it. They see the fact that you haven't said shit about this for fucking 6 months. Now all of a sudden you're this huge advocate. Like, get over yourself, man. Like, and understand that you are destroying any chance of growth when you polarize, right? None. Okay, so that's the book of Earl. Careful with your bias. All right, like I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it. Careful with it, because once it becomes, where do we go from now? What do we do? Because anybody who thinks that any type of gun control, what they say, or an AR, okay, you're not a logical person. That's not a logical thing. You can't do that. If we get rid of ARs in Memphis, does somebody not bring an AR from, like, how do we get rid of them? like stop.
I call after Colin.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Colin.
Well,
Yeah, raise
one
your
interesting
hand.
thing is, to piggyback on these so-called conspiracy theories,
It'll behoove everybody to listen.
the theorists really started becoming right, and all they needed was like a few weeks to like 6 months for everything they said to be right? Digital passports, the vaccines, you got coroners, pulling out calamari type shit out of people's veins and that kind of stuff. They're lying to us about that stuff. But the thing that interests me about all these school shootings, it's immediately jumping to, now we got to cancel guns, get rid of the Second Amendment. And we're already working on the first, but they don't want you to defend yourself. This is something bigger than just a disgruntled child with purple hair. How the fuck does the shooter in Uvalde, that is gender confused 19-year-old, have a Daniel defense weapon, and the weapons and the magazines and the bullets and shit that person had would total cost would be about $10,000 fucking dollars. He wasn't working at Subway saving up for that fateful day. Somebody funded that guy. As a SEAL and a contractor, I've been a contractor much, much longer, but like I didn't even know what Daniel Defense was, and I lived in Savannah until just a couple of years ago, you know. But I know they make good stuff, I guess, you know. So like, how are you going to spend $10,000 for that special day? You're going to shoot everybody in school. It doesn't make sense to me. Somebody's funding these kids.
There's a lot to that, and I know
Daniel fucking Defense.
The shoes, even the shoes. Like, I don't want to get into that because, like, I don't. Obviously, people died. Like, I don't want to turn this into a conspiracy and everything. But like, even the shoes, apparently, like some of the pictures when he was shot, and then when they drug him out, he had like different shoes on and stuff. Like, I don't know if you saw that. Like, there's a lot of like weird shit. To
and see, like,
I don't want to even get into that because that's how Alex Jones got canceled.
Yeah, that's not. But that's not what we wanted to get into. Like,
but you're right. You're right, dude. You're right.
And then again, I've always said in my book of rules, I go follow the money. I go wherever the money goes, and like Colin just said, is like, do you think that kid had $10,000 to buy that kind of shit? No. Right.
Well,
but go ahead, buddy.
I called after, by the way. Well, I'm gonna first of all to jump on.
Buddy, you can go now.
Colin, what Colin said. Yeah, I'm going.
Buddy, it's your turn, bud.
You're buddy.
You can hear me. Buddy, all right. To jump on what Colin said. Even trying not to be a conspiracy theorist. First of all, the Covenant School is not in the center of Nashville where people go to do touristy shit. Touristy shit is done in the center of Nashville. The Covenant School was over by Lipscomb and all those other schools. P.S. Tuition there is about $20,000 a year per kid. It's not a cheap place to be. The students there are all.
It's a private school. It's a private school. Yeah,
a private religious school, and it's also super expensive. And it's one of the Nashville elite send their kids there, not only for the education, but so that they can puff their chest up and say, "I send my kids to Covenant."
Everybody knows that school in that area where when your kid goes there, it's like, my kid goes there.
It's a prestige thing also.
Mm-hmm.
That being
if I'd have known that, I would have never hit you up and asked you if your kid's safe.
Well, he was in public school where they don't let anybody in.
I know you're like European now, marrying a French woman.
Yeah,
where Buddy can afford.
But so that being said, two of the people that they interviewed at the scene were close to the scene. One was a quote unquote survivor from Uvalde, and the other one was a survivor from the shooting that happened in Nashville at the Waffle House. Weird that they both showed up at the same place. One was on vacation and the other one just drove out because there was a mass shooting. Well, I've been in one of those before. I'll go let them know how it is. It's just it's just odd. But even more, and to jump on Nick's thing, the virtue signaling and all that other stuff. After the Charleston shooting, where that white kid came in and shot up the black church.
Yeah.
What do you think would have happened if 3 days later, the Klan or a bunch of rednecks would have run around with rebel flags or Nazi flags or, white supremacist stuff? They rightly should have gotten the fuck kicked out of them by everybody that saw them.
Yep.
I walked through my little town 2 days later, and there's a 20-year-old that doesn't walk. I live in the middle of town. He's never done it before, but he's walking through carrying a trans flag. Those kids aren't even buried yet, and you're trying to incite people to fuck you up. And rightfully, they should fuck you up. Not because one trans person did something, so it's the entire community's issue, but out of just use some common sense and don't incite people. Like, it would be different even if they had killed a bunch of adults, but they killed a bunch of kids and adults. So it's even more of a sensitive issue. And then you're going to 2 days, 3 days later have your National Day of Vengeance. The wording of that is even created to, if it's not made to incite, it's definitely made to measure the response of the majority of Americans. Like, are they to the threshold of violence yet so that they're not going to take shit and they're going to start. It seems like more and more, both media, the policies that our government's making are all made to try to push us to a threshold of violence so that we destroy ourselves.
I posted a meme on Facebook the other day.
That I can get. No, you're good. That's the only logical. That's the only logical thing I can come up with is that the powers that be are trying to push us to a point that we start fighting each other, so they have an excuse to.
But here's where I argue that. I argue that, not saying you're wrong. I argue it saying you're giving the American people too much credit. And I was like, the majority of American people don't give a shit what's happening around the world, what's happening around in other states. They got no idea.
Too busy.
They're not only are they too busy, they just don't. They're in their bubble. They don't give a shit. And like, again, all of a sudden they come out of their bubble when something like this happens, like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
so now I'm saying, like,
who
the hell are you? Like, who the hell are you to start? Like what you said, that guy walking around the center of a town before the kids are even buried with a trans flag. And like, again, here's something for the trans people. We've already made this very clear as VTT. If you want to change your sex, we have the science. We have the science to do it now. Who gives a shit?
No, we don't.
So get rid of your. No, we are able to cut a dick off now, and it's not a big deal, right? Like so. And we got steroids. We got all kinds of shit. We got all kinds of stuff we can do, right? So
science.
Again, but guess what? You have made a choice to fix a mental issue in your head. Okay, you have made a choice. All right, that choice now takes you out of competing in women's sports if you're a man, right? Until like the guy with the guy who's getting a boner in the locker room wins a swimming national title, right? It's like no, you're making. This is where I get mad at the virtue signalers. I'm like, no, you're making a choice to do what you're doing. All right, it doesn't mean you should never be hurt. Well, yeah, exactly. But you should never be hurt over it, right? Nobody should kill you for it, right? But you should, like, if you're a girl like with the big boob energy, right? You shouldn't be raped because you want to wear a nice dress. But guess what? If you wear a dress that shows 98% of your cleavage, I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah. Well, here's the issue, though. Here's the issue, though, Nick. And I talked about this with one of my buddies the other day. Like, you have a group of people that we convince you that you're confused and you don't know what gender you are from 5 to, say, 12 years old, right? Then when you're 12 years old, we tell you that you can choose. It doesn't matter. You can be whatever you want. And, oh, by the way, if you didn't pay attention in school because you were, a kid and you were 5 years old, we put you on pharmaceutical drugs to fuck with your brain and make you less hyper, so that you could sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day and listen to some teacher drone on, because that's how people learn. Then you're 11, 12 years old. We have you confused enough that you don't know what the fuck is going on. We tell you that you're a different gender. We tell you that you can't trust your own feelings, that you don't know anything. Then when you get old enough, we start pumping you full of hormones that you're biologically not used to having, whether it's estrogen or it's testosterone. And then we still sell you a bunch of guns and don't understand why you would go do something fucking crazy.
No. You brought up the right point, where I was going to say, like, when I was talking about the Book of Earl controlling your bias, is understand with your bias when you don't want people to target the trans community with guns, but yet you want gun control. Here's where it's going to really flip your fucking
pharmaceutical
head.
control. That's what we need.
Here's going to flip your fucking head.
Mental health control?
Stop. Mm-hmm. Listen. Mental health control, right? Here's all the things. So we say we want gun control, and an aspect of gun control is, like, more extreme background checks, right? So let's just say for the sake of argument, let's say I agree with the liberals on extreme background checks, like 6 months to get a gun, right? Because we're going to go through every single freaking tweet post that you had. Let's just say that's the greatest idea of all time. Okay, let's all agree that it is, just for the sake of argument. Greatest idea ever, right? So now, do you know why the DOD, you know how they funded sex operations? Do you know how they justified it to Congress so that they pay for it? Because it's a mental condition. That's how they justified it. So they're literally saying, you're fucking crazy, therefore we have to spend the money to help you, because we care about mental health in the DOD, right? So there you go, liberals. Okay, like you can't have both. Okay, like if you want to be a crazy trans, that's what the DOD says you are, right? And we're gonna fix you because you're crazy, and the only way you're gonna be normal is if you make yourself a dude. Okay, guess what? Then your gun control laws, then they don't get a gun either. All right, because they're fucking mental. All right, I'm mental. I got PTSD. I'm starting to get fucking triggered right now. Right? Does that mean I can't have a gun? No. Okay, maybe it does. I don't know. See how the bias, all of a sudden we can't even have a conversation. Like, okay, you can't say that I should have the right to be crazy. And then also that we need to have more crazy background checks on guns. Don't get mad at the transgenders for shooting people up. I'm mad at anybody who shoots anybody up.
That's the thing, man. Like, who gives a fuck?
Anybody.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should just make murder illegal. And if you do multiple of them,
weird.
Even more illegal.
Yeah.
Weird. Yeah.
People
it's even more illegal.
Yeah.
I was like, but anyways, let's we got to get to our guest here.
I know. We're going to have to extend the show for a little bit. Yeah,
we turn this into an extra.
Totally fucking work.
I don't.
But again, it's okay. It's okay to have your moral, actual, like. Remember, morals are different than ethics. Okay, ethics are the written rules of your community. Morals are how you fit into a community. Okay, that's your morals, and chances are, if the ethics are aligned with your morals, you like living in that neighborhood, that city, that town, right? So it's like that's how that works. So just be careful with your bias. That's the book of rules.
Real quick, Brian says we didn't have this problem back in the 70s. Yeah?
No, we did.
Maybe not as extreme, though. I think we might have, but the internet has caused everything to be, put out into the public at such a fast rate.
Like I said, I had the book of rules about instant gratification.
We didn't have this problem. We didn't have Lizzo in the 70s.
I don't think it was.
No, it just wasn't broadcasted everywhere. I mean, we were running illegal operations all over the world in the 70s, and we had
he's talking about like school shootings and stuff like that, and he's not wrong.
Well, that's because in the 70s people had guns in their back of their cars at school.
Right.
Well, you know what?
And they had my high school had a shooting range in it.
Well, when they're shooting, go ahead, buddy.
You know what? Well, here's the question. We keep talking about all these mass shootings that happen.
They create more. When we talk about it that much, it creates more.
Okay, well, we talk about them. They happen at churches. They happen at schools. When's the last mass shooting you heard that happened at a gun store?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know why? Because motherfuckers in gun stores have guns.
Right. Or the gun shows.
And I brought this up with the Walmart shooter here in El Paso, right? Like, that was so strategic to the Walmart that he went to. The Walmart that he went to is where most people that crossed over the border from Juarez shopped at that Walmart. Okay, guess what? You're crossing over the border. You don't have a gun. If you'd have came to my Walmart, the Walmart.
I know that Walmart. I've been there. Yeah.
If you go to my Walmart, where it's on the west side of El Paso, there's 100 people with a concealed carry in there.
Brian is saying if they were around in the 70s, they kept it quiet. No, Brian, I think just the exposure and the limited access to the internet.
See that, but
if they would have had the internet like that back then, it would have still been publicized.
You're both right.
I think personally,
nobody heard about it. And guess what? Unless you are, like I said, we're gonna get to the guests. All right, we're gonna let it go. We're gonna let
good
it
show, man. It's been good though.
Then we're gonna have to talk about how in the 70s, the 50s, the 40s. Maybe
back in my day, obviously joking,
some,
Brian. I mean, good points.
There were definitely some bad things that were going on, but there was also a base in traditional values. There was a value system that's been eroded. What are we saying? There's not. Are we saying there's not a value?
I'm saying that the way that they can erode the values is a lot quicker now. Just like that but they were still doing it in the 70s. So when you say it didn't happen in the 70s, they were still trying to erode values in the 70s. What the hell do you think all the hippies were doing?
They may have been trying to erode values, but you know what?
But it's faster now.
They didn't have a direct line to fucking 10-year-olds through their smartphone to make it look that it was socially acceptable to be 13 and sell your fucking pussy pictures on fucking OnlyFans for $20 a pop, so you could be a millionaire by the time.
Hey, that's a great business model for those girls that do it. I don't hate on them.
Oh yeah, great business.
If I could go on there and sell fucking pictures of my fucking, I would fucking do it if I knew
I'm gonna have to shut.
Hey, Dave, be a foot model. Be a foot model. All right.
Feet finder, right?
Again, but does that mean that it's a great business model, or does that mean that your morals are fucking for sale just as long as the price is right?
Well,
Hey,
everybody's moral. We could go on this.
Hey,
your morals, correct?
But
Your morals, correct. But somebody else's morals can differ from your morals.
No, again, morals and ethics are different. That's what I was just talking about.
You have a choice to,
Right. And so if you're in a city where the ethics line up with your morals, you're probably happy, right? Like it's different. So no, here, Rudy said.
Anyway, love you, buddy. We'll talk about that. Call me later.
Crime and shooting happened in poor neighborhoods
Go outside.
in the 70s.
Bye.
It just doesn't.
I'm not going outside.
It just doesn't make media coverage. Yeah, so that's where you both are right. And then who remembers the St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Anybody know what year that was in?
In the 20s.
Yeah,
that was definitely in the 20s during Prohibition, which is going to happen a lot more.
I'm just saying that it happened. It happened in every decade.
What created the environment for? Yeah,
well, obviously the guns. Obviously the guns did.
No, it wasn't obviously because you could buy a fucking.
Because if you didn't have a Tommy gun, it never would have happened. It's science.
The dumpster fire is real.
Well, before guns, Vlad the Impaler impaled 20,000 people and ate dinner watching them slowly die. And they could impale people in such a way that it wouldn't hit their vital organs, so they would suffer for hours or days.
That dude was savage. How many people he
killed?
Anyway,
let's get to the guest. I knew Buddy was triggered, so I could get to him. Anyways, you weren't even.
Shut the fuck up, buddy.
You didn't even pick up on my sarcasm. You didn't even. By the way, Dave's shirt triggered somebody on like big time. Big time. He's like, that's not our flag. And it's like, sorry, dude. It's just a funny shirt. Like, fucking get over it. Anyways, we got Colin Palmer. All right. He's on the Veteran Trash Talk Hour. He was real nervous about not having fun, which I know he's over now. So, like, I told him how easy it was and it was going to be a great time. But again, like we talked about before, the whole point of this show, not to talk about school shootings and conspiracies, it's just the fun part, is to actually promote veterans and promote what they're doing, what they got going on. Colin is a former Navy SEAL, and we make the joke in the script about how, we've had two SEAL, we had a SEAL Team 2 and a SEAL Team 5 guy.
Like 3 or 4 on the show.
But 5 and 2, they're not famous teams, so nobody knows who they are. So they're not in movies. Right then, but Colin actually was in a few movies, so it's sort of.
Oh,
yeah. But again, you got because if you're not SEAL Team 6 and you're not what's the show on Prime right now? Like if you're not one of those guys, okay, nobody cares. Yeah. Nobody cares about you as SEAL
Terminalist.
Yeah, terminalist, right? So nobody in America cares about SEAL Team 2 or SEAL Team 5. All right, if you're not SEAL Team 6, not in a movie, so he's been doing his best to become relevant. All right, and what he's been doing to validate SEAL Team 2, all right, is draw. Okay, he decided to color. Okay, but
no.
I put up. I think Chris is going to put up the image.
Oh, cool.
Chris is probably wondering what his favorite flavor of crayon is, though.
No, he's eating cake right now.
Hey, Colin, welcome to the Dumpster Fire. You've been indoctrinated. You're here. Tell us a little bit about your life story and what you got going on, and why should people buy your comics?
Okay, well, after I left the Navy, I started contracting, and after 5 years of PSD work in like Iraq, I took classes at UCLA. I took a suitcase, went out to LA, slept on my buddy's couch, and I wanted to write movies. So I went to UCLA, took some classes on how to write screenplays. During the first class, I got a job offer to go back to Iraq. So about 9 months in Iraq and Afghanistan, I came back so I could dedicate more time to the craft. And I honestly thought I'd be a successful movie writer within a few years, and it's 15
Why not?
years later.
You were a SEAL.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, you have a few guys out there that are kicking ass with shows like Jack Ryan or whatever. I know some of them, and that's great for them. Writing is kind of hard. You're competing with 50,000 screenplays a year. I think when I started taking classes, it was only 40,000. So it's hard to get an agent. It's hard to get a manager. And so after after a while, I started realizing like I need to turn my screenplays into comic books. So that's what I'm doing with 2 titles right now. And I'm finishing up 2 novels right now. So I cover a couple different genres from like horror, since I've seen shadow people in pointy hoods and stuff. I do science fiction, and Blood Treasure is a vampire pirate adventure that takes place in the golden age of piracy. I figured they'd have to come across the boat at some time. And when me and this British dude we were in Uganda in 2011, and we were done training these dudes in CQB and urban warfare and stuff, and we're in this British tent. We see a commercial for Pirates of the Caribbean, and we're like, man, it could have been such a cool thing, but it sucks. So we came up with this idea of Blood Treasure, and the lead character, the lead villain is Devlin Du Maurier, who I think is a very cool guy. And if you like Black Sails and if you like vampire movies, I think this is going to be a good mix of beer drinking, knuckle dragging, blood sucking vampires instead of like the beautiful little Twilight douchebags that we see.
We love you if you're a Twilight douchebag, but we like knuckle draggers too.
Yeah, I can't lie to you, Colin. The only pirate movie I saw was on a different part of the internet.
Oh yeah.
No, it was called Pirates.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
It wasn't a pirate movie; it was a Pirates movie.
Yeah, Asia Carrera was in that, right?
I mean, we won't call him out by name.
I do believe you are correct, though. Yes. There were some other famous actresses. I mostly paid attention to the actresses that were in it. Yeah, but yeah, they were there.
Don't lie.
Right.
You were envious.
So the other one, I think I sent you guys Nicaragua. It might have just been like Blood Treasure, but Nicaragua is like, we have like Jack Carr. He's got a really cool series about, the terminal list. Mine is more of like, a former SEAL with a lot of problems that finds himself in these international incidents. And he's on a mission to go blow up an oil rig for the CIA, but it turns out it's really a plot to get him killed and to make these people lots of money off the cleanup, which is a theory that came after the BP oil spill, that if they just blew it up, they did make more money off cleaning up somehow, I guess, through the contracted people. But anyway, it's
follow the money, baby. Follow the money.
He's got to team up with a drug cartel to fight the CIA, who's got a drug cartel fighting for them. So it becomes a big fucking fun mess of jungle warfare in Nicaragua. So there's 2 different stories coming out. I'm not the one drawing them. I've hired a storyboard graphic novels. They
You're the one
specialize,
who's written them. Yeah.
Yeah, they specialize in taking your screenplay and turning it into a graphic novel. So
that's awesome.
So I couldn't give them $25,000 up front. So I broke it down into 6 issues of 20-page issues to make 120-page, basically screenplay story. So I think it'll be a good graphic
Now, are these
novel.
out already, or they're in creation right now?
No, right now I'm planning about June 21st to start selling Blood Treasure issue number 1. So from June until Christmas, I can start. It's going to be 1 to 6, and then hopefully, if we start making some money off that, then I can start feeding that into finishing Nicaragua, and then do about 8 more screenplays into graphic novels.
Hey, Rob,
where's that going to be available? Where's that going to be available? Like on Amazon? Like,
yes.
Are you connected with stores that you're going to like? How does that look like for you? Is there a website?
Yeah, in the next 3 months, I'm going to start setting it up on Comixology on Amazon, and I'm going to take the advice of storyboard graphic novel guys and Alex Fox. And Nick talked to Alex Fox. He's going to help me with like marketing or something. I don't know anything about that.
I was doing a demo for the suicide virtual reality training at the Citadel.
And I was wondering where you guys connected. Yeah.
And then he was like, "Hey, you need to talk to this guy Colin to get him on your show." So what's up, Fox? If you're watching, all right. Fox
can you? So I guess you can't pre-order. Can you pre-order those or no?
No, not yet. Honestly, I thought this came a little fast. Right now, we're in the process of making issue number 3. But by the time issue 4 is done, which will be about June, then I can start selling them. So that way I won't have any lag time of more than a month in between comics. So
yeah, Rob was asking, is this published military fiction? Question mark. Is that going to be like is it going to be military fiction? Is that like the category?
No, well, Nicaragua. Well, it's kind of like a contracting story, but I wouldn't put it. It's an action adventure. It doesn't. The prequel.
It's okay. Hold on, Colin. First of all, Rob, we don't like to put labels on things here at BCC, so we're not going to put it in a niche category. It's just going to be a good.
Stop trying to pigeonhole him, Rob.
Stop trying to put him in a. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Okay?
Vampire Pirates in 1672, I don't think really kind of falls in the category of.
Rudy in the chat says Netflix special coming soon. This sounds really. And real quick, like, what made you decide to turn it into a comic instead of just going into like a book? You know, because this is definitely something new. Because most of the, there's a lot of SEALs that have written books, Delta guys, Special Forces guys. We've had plenty on the show, but you're going into that niche of like comics. What was that like? What did that?
Last year with Nicaragua, there was a small production company that offered me an option deal to possibly get the movie made. And reading the deal, I just didn't like the deal, but I knew that I could get this fucking movie made, So I think, the idea is if I can at least get it, visually stimulating by doing a 120-page, graphic novel, literally a producer could flip through it in a second and be like, man, this looks cool. I want to do it without even reading every single word. A screenplay would be more laborious. You're going to take a few hours or a couple days to read it. But again, the pictures, itself tells a 1,000 words. So that's the strategy. I knew I could get a production company interested in Nicaragua, which also told me, it was one of the first kind of option deals I had. And I'm like, okay, good. I know I can get somebody interested. And if they're interested, there's probably more people that'll be interested. And if we come up with a graphic novel, then maybe a lot more people be interested. And hopefully we can shift out of contracting and just be a writer for the next 20 years until I
honestly, that's
have a heart attack.
That's a super smart idea, just because, with the attention span of people, these days, like
Buddy can even sit down for 40 minutes. He had to get up and walk outside.
I'd be cool with a graphic novel as opposed to like reading an actual.
Yeah, I love that.
Read a book, an adult.
It would be the same story, just a few hundred pages less.
yeah, and with pictures. And I'm from Alabama, so I like me some pictures.
Yeah. So that
and we already know I'm into pirates.
Yeah, Rudy says, and I need a coloring book for my crayons. Yeah,
so obviously a little marine there. Hey, Rudy, we got marine shirts. You got our crayon line is freaking awesome. So go check those out. But hey, Colin, what about like how else were you connected in Hollywood? Like what were you doing there? I know you said some stuff in like your writing resume. It's like what some of the stuff that has inspired you to do these things?
Well, since I was a kid, I kind of always could, when I was watching movies, I was always a huge fan of movies. I loved say going into the theater and seeing the opening of say TriStar, the big winged horse comes out. The whole movie experience was very, for lack of a better word, magical. And I've always wanted to be a part of it. Hold on one second.
I hear birds.
Maybe we can hear that. The speaker. She's listening to this on the.
Is it in Italian?
No, it's just listening to us, and it's echoing, so I'm hearing my voice in the bedroom. What were we talking about?
You.
The inspiration.
So what was your inspiration to do what you were doing? Tell us a little bit about some of your Hollywood experiences and what's your inspiration to do what you're doing?
Well, I want to make movies. I've always loved them. Like movies like Heat are I've always loved that stuff.
Best gun scene of all time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And but I love fantasy, sci-fi, all that stuff. Anything Philip K. Dick. He wrote Minority Report. before it was Minority Report.
I thought you were going Pirates direction with that. I don't know.
Yeah. No. He was a science fiction author that actually kind of, like they said, he started freaking out because he thought the government was following him, and maybe they were, I don't know. But after the teams had a lot of really intelligent, very funny. Team 2 had a lot of funny people. We were called the Nazi team, but there was everybody I hung out with was fucking hilarious, very charismatic and creative. And a couple of my friends are writing novels right now. But my friend Pat, when he got out, Pat Mulder, he left Team 2 to go take acting school up in New York City. And then a couple years later, he's out in LA. And we'd always talked about maybe writing together or doing a movie together, that kind of stuff. So I went out to LA, took classes at UCLA as per his advice, brought my suitcase and a mountain bike. And we even got an apartment together. And we even wrote a comedy about seals in Hollywood. We had J.B. Rogers. He was a big director, did the second American Pie that made them $1 billion. So we thought we were going to have a comedy produced in Hollywood about seals in Hollywood, which we thought at the time was going to be fucking hilarious. Because
now it's just cliche.
Yeah. But it was playing off that cliche anyway. It would still be funny. But a few years later, we read the script and we're like, thank God this didn't get made because it sucks. But at least that taught us that we're getting better at writing because we can now know that the shit we wrote a couple years ago is garbage. But
I love it.
So then I was determined. Like, I mean, I needed a new career. I wasn't, I was no longer.
Well, talk about that. Like I said, like what for the audience watching, and you might we always try to help somebody in our audience with every show, and I'm sure this will. But at what point were you stuck? And then as a veteran, and then like highs, lows, what's been the what's the right word? What resilience did you have to show to come over with it, to get where you're going, to keep going?
Well, if you want to make it as a writer, I think it seems to me like there's a pipeline for some people that maybe go to Northwestern and they've got their
Illinois school. We don't like that.
But you know what I mean? Like they might be able to get some kind of a job through their fucking degree. I don't have a degree in writing. I don't have a degree in English or anything like that. I can't give somebody my resume and say I'm an English lit. My vocabulary is decent, more with F bombs and that kind of stuff. But
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I don't have like the education to say that I'm a good writer, so I'm gonna have to prove it by self-publishing, I think. But just simply answer your question, I've always wanted to tell stories, and I think I'm good at it. And other people seem to think I'm good at it too. So hopefully, we'll have these 2 comics and novels out by Christmas time.
Christmas time. Okay, so when Christmas comes around, make sure you get back to us, and people will now be able to reference the show, and then
Blood Treasure by June.
By June.
Yeah,
okay,
so we need to get together prior to June.
And get that link published on our page, and make sure that everybody's tracking it, because they're gonna be able to watch you, and they're gonna be able to see you and know who you are writing it. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to dive into. Is again.
All right, let me tell you something.
I still think you're holding something back. I think you're holding something back.
Okay, Shadows of Hell is a novel I'm writing right now. I first wrote the screenplay, and I'm gonna make it a graphic novel. But a friend of mine, when he was at Dev Group, he killed somebody, and I think he killed somebody with his fists, and something dark kind of attached itself to him. And I witnessed this thing years later. This pointed shadow person type thing haunting him. We're in a Ugandan hotel room, and then at 3-something in the morning, we both wake up to the same opaque shadow dude with a pointed hood. And I'm waking up, and I start talking about a horror comedy idea that I had, and he didn't think it was very funny at the time because he had eight black orbs moving around the wall next to his bed. The TV he brought it to my attention, which was right next to me. It was glowing blue and white snow like in Poltergeist, no sound. And it scared the shit out of me. And after that moment, you know, you're scared, but you don't say anything, you know?
No shit.
Not like all those IED videos with the bitches screaming like crazy. But that's another thing. But anyway, dude, the hair stood up on my arms. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen because I knew it was supernatural. It was there and then it was gone. And those black orbs were on the wall. And then they were there for a little bit. I even had to stand up and one went under. Anyway, it got me into
motion.
I had to write a fucking story, a demonic possession story called Shadows of Hell, which is based off of that. But I went with a female lead based off of my friend at the actor studio who's dealt with cancer her whole life. And then she's got to deal with fighting off demon possession
right,
with her family.
Damn.
But I'll write about anything if I think it's interesting. I have another story about going to the moon for mining for helium-3, only to discover there are already people there. But that's going to
that's another conspiracy that's out there too. But I'm not.
Yeah.
Hey, that was
Thomas.
Yeah.
That's
intense, man.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I took a little break from writing it because when you write about that stuff and you're thinking about demonic fucking possession all the time, then either you're going to start seeing shit or things.
I was going to say, you're opening yourself up to that shit. If you believe in that shit and then you start thinking that shit.
Well, our favorite shirt that didn't take off was, you know, the veteran trash talk, get the demon out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, and we say that because when it comes to veterans, we're a minority. So when you say I'm a veteran, you don't speak for me. You don't speak for Dave. You don't speak for Colin. You don't speak for Buddy. You're speaking for yourself. However, when you drop the veteran card, now you're speaking for all of us. And it's like, so settle down before you say what you're going to say as a veteran, right?
Yeah.
And the demon is yours, right? You own that demon just as much as it owns you, right? Like, it's yours. Like, and whether or not you want to try to kill it or you want to try to love it, like you just want to get along with it, right? Like, those choices are all yours.
2 years after
yours. Say again?
2 years after that, I was on a small team down in Tanzania. This Marine recon guy I met told me about a dream he had. We had never met each other before. We were there to teach a maritime interdiction training course for the anti-terrorism program there. And
that's both, buddy.
He had a dream where he asked me if I lived near the Roosevelt Hotel in Hollywood. I'm like, dude, I live right across the street. And he told me that in his dream, that catty corner across the street, which coincidentally would have been my apartment the way he was describing it, he said in his dream something said, the guy in that building is cursed. And basically it had to have meant me because there I am in Tanzania with him. There's nobody else in Tanzania that lives across from the Roosevelt. So I don't know. Everything you said about that dream is weird. I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on this planet. We don't have to. Somebody's probably got the answers, but we're not being allowed to get the answers.
No, yeah, love it. Great story. And I can't wait to make sure.
I want to read this comic.
Make sure you trust us. It'll make you money, but two, like stay in contact with us so we can, you know, push this stuff out for you. But
absolutely.
I think we're on to Buddy now for the AR. Is he taking notes?
We can't hear you, buddy.
You can't hear you, buddy. You're muted.
Yeah. There was
how many podcasts have we done now?
Rookie mistake. This is only episode 120.
There are motorcycles driving by. I didn't want you guys.
I love it.
Lives are saved.
Good call.
That loud pipe saved lives. But AAR. So there's no note taking that could have taken place during this show because it was like following a bouncing ball. So the AAR is that Colin has got some graphic novels coming out, and one is about pirates, and not the kind of pirates that
Buddy wants.
I know about, but some actual pirates that are doing pirating stuff. And then another one coming out in December that he's going to come back on the show to do. That's about Nicaragua or Nicaragua. If you oblate, if you
roll the R's,
you roll them R's. And also, let's see. Well, I'm not even going to go back into the Book of Earl, because that's just going to open up a whole can of worms. Make the show last for another hour and a half, and I don't even want to talk about the conspiracy, because that's going to get Dave and Colin into some kind of crazy 4 hours.
Oh no, Colin and I are going to do an episode.
I know.
Colin, no problem with that, dude.
Once we shut this off, just stay on. Don't leave right away. We got to do something else. We got to get your Navy SEAL buddy on. I want to hear about his.
We'll bring on Jaco, Dave Wilcock, Billy Carson, Stephen Greer.
You guys are about to be on a whole nother episode, or not even an episode, just a series of shows.
We might even get to go to Venus. That would be fantastic.
Do a show live from Venus, and I'm sold.
That's what more proof do you need, right?
Sold, yeah.
True, or a pyramid on Mars.
There's not enough satellites there to get the signal back to us.
So the AAR is that you just got to watch the show. You just got to rewatch it, because it was all over. That's the only AAR I got.
This was a good show. This was a fun show.
This was a complete. This wasn't even a dumpster fire. This was some shit. I'm surprised that some kid from Wisconsin didn't come try to put it out and then shoot some people. That's how big a dumpster fire this was.
It'll get censored again. That's usually what happens.
Well, it makes you wonder if John Carpenter's movie The Thing was actually related to the Russian story.
Ooh.
Because it sounds very similar. It was mimicking.
It died.
It may not have had 14 legs, but it had a lot of crazy shit going on. It sounded disgusting. Had some kind of telepathy or something going on, right? It could make noise, and I don't know.
What was that? There was another movie. It was
Independence Day. You know that he had to he had to put his hands to talk to him.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
You should all die.
Well, that's all coming soon anyway. That's why they're talking about the UFOs. That's one world currency. The bank's collapsing. That's all.
All right, here you go, buddy. You were just supposed to close it out.
Shut up.
I didn't get into that on purpose. I did my job. You guys fucked it up. That's not me. It wasn't me this time. I didn't do it. That being said, if the aliens can come from 3 galaxies over,
they're not getting shot down by us. Yeah.
Then,
but Colin, before we turn over to Dave to close this out, is there anywhere
a little bit to make yourself feel better, but you're just getting gold apparently? That's what we're doing from now on.
Hashtag Anunnaki.
Colin, is there anything that you're selling right now? Is there anything out there they can buy right now, or do we have to wait till June?
No, I'm going to have to wait till, look, issue 3 is almost done. And then when issue 4 is done, most likely June, I'll be able to start, putting up stuff to sell Blood Treasure. And I think people are going to love it. It's going to be fun. There's no political bullshit. It's just good old fashioned storytelling.
That's perfect for VTT. Hey, Veteran Trash Talk, you guys watching, Gruntworks Nation, you guys watching right now and listening right now, wait till June. We'll get you the links to Colin's stuff, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Now I'm going to try and rush that.
Don't rush it. Make it perfection.
We'll be here, brother. Finish it up. We'll be here.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush the artists,
Exactly.
The stick figures aren't going to cut it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it cuts it on that shirt. On Dave's shirt, it cuts it. So,
if you got a chance to look through issue 1, you can tell the detail the artists are doing on the Spanish galleon type ships are fantastic. I mean, it's going to it's going to be a beautiful comic when it's completely finished.
But all right, Dave, what do we got?
Great. Well, thanks for the AAR, buddy. Colin, this is amazing. I look forward to I look forward to reading the comic.
Big tips.
And we're definitely going to push it out once it comes out. We've had some authors that have come on here on the show and have done fairly well after the show in regards to book sales and stuff. So, and that's what it's all about, right? Promote veteran-owned businesses, promote our brothers and sisters that are out there doing great stuff.
Thank you.
We are definitely going to connect, and we're going to get your buddy, the Navy SEAL, on because we need to talk about some things. But for everybody that tuned in late, all right, make sure you go to veterantrashtalk.com. That is our website. It'll take you to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, other platforms that we're on that I have no clue about. I think we found out we were doing a podcast.
Yeah, I didn't know we were doing a podcast for like 3 months. Yeah, like shit.
Go check out gruntworksclothing.com. All right. That is under our umbrella, Veteran Trash Talk. All right. We got awesome merch on Gruntworks Clothing. So check them out. Check out shop.veterantrashtalk.com, which has more Gruntworks clothing and VTT shirts. Thanks, everybody, for the amazing support. And we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Baseman VTT out. Boom. Well.